that is free for both teachers and students to use in the classroom or with their one-to-one device, which is called Quizlet.com. This is a study tool that both the students and the teachers can use to learn information. It gives me a few options to sign in, and I'm going to use my Google sign-in to sign into Quizlet. And I immediately see that it pulls up my dashboard and different Quizlets that I've created. One of the most beneficial tools that a teacher can use is self-discovery and learning. So, and get an assignment back. So that's what I'm going to focus on today is, as a teacher, I would assign a student a section in the book maybe to read or online information, and I would ask them to create their own Quizlet, maybe based on words, vocabulary, places and people, religions, based on their ancient history set. So I'm going to assign my students to read about ancient China. So, and I ask them to create a Quizlet on what they've read and then share it with me. So as a student, they would sign in and they would create a study set. They would add their description, which is going to be ancient China, and they would begin by saying, okay, I'm going to use my terms and my definition in English, and then begin reading the information. One of the most common things they would read over might be dynasty, and I can type this word in as I run across it, and I know that after reading it that it's a line of rulers in a family. So I can either type that in, or if I look over here, I have some audio and picture and search buttons. I'm going to search for an auto definition, and I see, hey, this is very similar to what I've just been reading, so I'm going to use it instead of my typed definition. And so that's one thing that Quizlet does, is it will do a search for a definition and a word. As I research on, I can find more information and more key things about ancient China, such as the Shang Dynasty. Where were they located? When did they rule? I don't have to use a search for a definition. I can use search for images and do a visual vocabulary, because in this case they want to know where they were and during what time they led. And an important part of their learning process is also learning not only the definitions, but also where they are located. So I can add both a definition and an image as a student. And I can read my information, and then of course I want to share it back with my teacher. So I'm going to go ahead and create this with these three terms. And now I have an option to share the URL with my teacher via email or Facebook or Twitter, depending on what they might use. They might want to share it with a friend. If I am doing this, having kids do this as an assignment, what I would probably most likely do is I would go back into Edit, and I would have them change visible to everyone from visible to everyone to people with the password. And then I would have them send me the password. I would do this because this way students would not be doing somebody else's work. I would know it came from this student and only this student. So that is something that I would have students change, but it doesn't have to be viewable by everyone. So I'm done editing. Now, what can Quizlet do with these three words? Well, one of the first and most obvious things it can do is a flashcard of your word and definition. You can see either the term, both sides of the card, or the definition, so that students can study. I'm going to look at by term, and they can use this to flip it and study their words and locations. This is where the visual part really comes in handy if they're looking at not only words but also geography. So now that they've studied for a little while, now they're going to work on their learning, a series which is going to have them typing in their answers. They can also you can also add a speech part of it if you need to or if you want to. So there is a learning center There's two games, Scatter, which is really fun because they drag the words and definitions to each other, and if they drag it to the wrong thing, it moves away. So I'm going to start matching them up, and Yellow River doesn't go with Dynasty. No, Yellow River is a major river. And what it'll do is it'll run their time, and they can try to beat themselves. They may be competing with other students. And there's also a game that's called Race, Space Race, and they have to type in the correct word before it finishes its crawl. So there's a couple of different games that they can play. And then of course they can go to test mode. This is really nice. Once they get to know your testing style as a teacher, they can choose what kind of options come up. If you do a written answer, if you do matching, multiple choice, true, false, if you have them define it or just give the term, they can use this as a study tool to practice their test. They can print it off as a study guide and use these various tools to study. So another thing that students can also do, or you as a teacher, you can look for what other teachers have created, such as ancient India. Okay, well, I've assigned ancient India, and as a teacher, I can look through various things that teachers have created to see what matches what we're studying at the time. And this one seems to match pretty close with its words. It's got the visual component. So if a teacher wants to use this, or if a student wants to use this, but not all of it, they can create a copy for themselves. Why would they want to create a copy? Because they're going to want to eventually edit it themselves. So I've created a copy, and now it gives me the option to edit it. It's in my dashboard, and most of these are things that we have studied, but not hymn and not yoga. We have not studied vaccination. And when I was reading, I didn't find out anything about discriminate. But I did learn all these other things. So I was able to take out 3 different words that did not suit what I just read as a student. And I can also use an add button right down here if I need to add more information. Then click done, and it automatically saves it. And if I go back to my dashboard, to my study sets, I'll find that I have, here we have Eastern religions, philosophies in ancient India and China. So it has those words minus the other ones that I did not want to put in. So that's a wonderful tool that students can use and teachers can use to help learn.